Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:07 and it's Thursday. You've almost made it to the weekend, friends. Thanks for joining us here and starting your day with us on O'Connor and Company. Coming up, 7:35, Kush Desai, White House Deputy Press Secretary, talk about yesterday's big event in the Rose Garden with Donald Trump. Hang on a second. We have a technical issue that we want to resolve right now. Now's the perfect time because Cassie Smedley's here. She hasn't been here in a while, and she wants to make sure she can hear us. You can't hear us in your ears. Yeah. There's an echo. It's bad. No, it's a, hold on. And they didn't turn your microphone on. There you go. Now we can hear you.
See, I'm sorry. I'm new here.
Don't be sorry. You're right. Well, this is your first time in our new studio. Michael Shelton is going to be back up so he can take care. Oh, so that jack is still broken there? That headpiece jack? Now you can hear? We've been complaining about that headphone jack for a while now. What does Chris Plant do? That's where Chris Plant sits, by the way. So, hold on. No, we got to do something else here. The volume. This is fantastic.
We're in business.
This is why we want to turn on the cameras in the studio eventually so everyone can see these incredible machinations in real time while it's going. Too loud? Loud enough?
We're good. I wore a I Am Awake sweater, very bright
It
colors
is a very
today,
bright
but it's
sweater.
Very deceiving. The rest
Cassie
of
Smedley is here.
It's
It's obviously the headphones are something that we cannot test until we are live on the air. Thank you, Michael Shelton, for that lightning fast attack on the technical snafu. And now we're flying along. Oh, don't try to turn that down. It's not going to work. All right, we're on. Can I remind you that Kush Desai from the White House press office is going to join us at 7:35 to talk about the Trump tariff announcement yesterday. Big deal at the Rose Garden. 8:05, KT McFarland will join us. And then at 8:35, the administrator of the Small Business Administration, SBA, the kids like to call it in town because we call everything by their initials, Kelly Loeffler will join us, former senator from Georgia. I am Larry O'Connor, along with CS, as the kids like to call her, Cassie Smedley.
Yes, or as my father-in-law says, can you just go by your maiden name? But I can't. You can't pronounce either.
You're not allowed. What is your maiden name?
Doxy.
Well, that's easy.
I guess so. Anyway, but I'm so excited to be back with you, Larry.
I know.
Been a
we
minute
haven't
and a
seen you in
half.
about a baby ago.
That's right.
You were great with child, I think, when I last saw you.
That would sound about right.
Yeah.
So we've added another kid to the crew, but not trying to be any record breaker.
Elon Musk would be proud.
I know. It's like we're not going for Elon's record, but
No.
we are trying to add more conservatives
you'd have
to the
to
world.
bring more women into the scene if you wanted to follow Elon.
That's fair. We got to start.
Yeah, let's just stick with the monogamous situation.
Yeah.
I like that. So you're up to two now. You got one of each.
A girl and a boy. I told you my 3-year-old, she just started karate. They grow up so fast.
Which is crazy because she's not even in kindergarten yet, but she's doing karate. By the way, I just said one of each. And, if somebody accidentally tuned into us, but they thought they were getting NPR, they were like, my gosh, one of each. That's like 40 kids. But no, we only have two genders here,
right.
Two sexes on this program. You've come to the right place. It's sane and rational. It's WMAL.
That's right. Girl, boy, that was not what they were assigned at birth or whatever. That's how the good Lord made them.
How dare you. So Cassie Smedley, of course, former spokesperson for the RNC, former think tank gal, now working for a pro-freedom financial institution known as Coin, which we'll get to. We can get into the details of what Coin's up to a little later. But more importantly, you used to live down on South Capitol area, right? If I remember right.
Hill, right.
On Capitol Hill. And as you know, I think the last time we had you on, crime was going crazy. The recall effort for your great district councilman there, full charge ahead. And every time I see headlines about, the carjacking, frankly, anytime I drive down in that area and I start to, have my head on a swivel when I'm at a red light, I always worried about you and your growing family there. And apparently you had enough. You're no longer a D.C. resident.
That is true. We fled for the Commonwealth of Virginia. But you're right, Larry. In fact, when I was bringing home my baby boy and had the toddler girl, my neighbor, who's generational, lived in D.C., she used to come out and watch just in case I got carjacked while I was trying to get my kids out of the car. And that's just being neighborly.
Lovely to have a neighbor, but usually you want your neighbors, keep an eye out on making sure the garbage cans get taken care of.
Bring in your mail if you're out of town.
Borrow a cup of sugar when you're baking a cake. No. She's lookout. She's Overwatch while you're doing the tactical maneuver of getting a baby in and out of the car so you don't get carjacked.
The right fit for us, but Virginia's been very welcoming.
Yeah.
And we still think fondly of our friends on Capitol Hill. Pray for them daily.
Yeah.
And in all the chaos that they're closest to as well. I mean, I still keep the alerts on for the neighborhood and how much energy they spend on MAGA people moving into the neighborhood, Elon Musk and someone who's driving a Tesla, and what do we think about them? That's the energy they spend.
That's the neighborhood watch.
While parents are getting carjacked, getting their baby out of the car. But priorities, people. Priorities.
So the neighborhood watch is energized. I don't know this new person who just moved in, I think they're working for the administration. This is bad. This is bad. Oh, outrageous. It's interesting. I've when I drive in now, even at 4 a.m. when I'm driving in, when I get off the Beltway and I hit Connecticut, I drive a Tesla. And every single time I have to stop, I am on alert. I really am. It's outrageous that I have to worry about some sort of terrorist vandal attack because of the car I chose to drive, which, by the way, a minute and a half ago was celebrated by these people.
That was just what I was about to say, is the real 180 moment of that a year ago, people would have thought you were a plant.
Right.
So that Larry guy, he sounds conservative, but did you know he drives a Tesla?
I tell you something, I had to deal with this all the time from people. Matt Mercedes Schlapp used to mock me because I was a conservative who drove a Tesla. Chris Plant, the man whose chair you're sitting in right now, hence my gesture. Constantly making fun of me. Why don't you get a real man's car? Why don't you get? It's like now, kind of, I feel like I've got street cred. It's like you asked me earlier if I have a bumper sticker that said, I bought this before Elon was a schmuck. No, I bought it before Elon was cool. I bought it before Elon was red-pilled. But I celebrated his engineering. I did buy it right when he was purchasing Twitter X, when I sort of saw, okay, this guy gets it. This guy respects freedom. And so that's why. But I bought my Teslas. I've got 2, actually, because they're feats of American ingenuity and engineering. If there was an internal combustion car that had the kind of know-how that this car has, I would drive it in a minute. I didn't do it to save the planet or to, make anybody happy politically.
Well, careful, because they're trying to put you in that box. But now you see Tesla, to your point, a lot of people are learning that it's one of the most American-made cars in the country. Nobody saw that coming.
Can I get back to a 3-year-old child doing karate?
Sure. We got to teach her self-defense in the mean streets of Virginia.
What does that look like exactly? I mean,
it's so cute.
Is it cuter? It's got to be cuter than 3-year-old. First of all, when she's in the gi, that's just got to be the cutest thing. Does she want to sleep in it?
That's what it's called. I kept calling it a kimono, and she was telling me that.
A kimono.
That wasn't right.
That's for geishas, for God's sake, not ninjas like your little girl.
Whole other thing. It is so cute. I'll send you a video. I'll post a video on Twitter if anyone cares. But because she did record a video for her grandparents the other night. But the guy's great. I would do a commercial for him if he paid me to. But all the kids love it. They bring it to her school, so we're not packing the weekend with karate. We've got enough going on, which is great. And I truly have never seen her happier. I thought she liked dance. She loves karate, and it's strong for girls to do it.
It is. It is a good thing, and flexibility and strength and sort of focus and just sort of group activities that socialize them in a very positive way instead of some of the negative socialization. My oldest son, when he was 3 or 4, I think he was doing karate too, and you know how they teach you the
yeah.
It's like is she doing the screaming on everything?
Yes.
So my son would do it like around the house, no matter, like he was picking up a Lego.
Oh.
He would grab something out of the refrigerator. It was like everything was the scream. It's like, son, enough of the screaming.
Now I know what's coming.
All right, let's find out what's going on with Coin, your employer, and a freedom-loving financial institution, which I always like. It's nice to have freedom associated with where you're putting your money. So we'll get to that in a second, a little bit more with Cassie Smedley. And yes, the tariffs, and yes, the Department of Education and the Doge and the fake news about Elon Musk and all that. We got that. Just stick with us. We got 3.5 hours, for God's sake. 4. How long is this show? It's 4 hours and 45 minutes because it's 5:15 WMAL.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
It's Larry O'Connor here alongside Cassie Smedley joining us for a special Thursday morning in your nation's capital. And we're talking about your employer coin. And now remind me again, they're setting up credit cards for people to utilize. And, a lot of these big institutions, especially during the insane woke years that we had to deal with Black Lives Matter and with various, CRT, DEI, LMNOP stuff that was being forced from the boardroom, not because the consumer demanded it, because the boardroom decided they wanted to acquiesce to Human Rights Commission and those people, that they were taking our money, all those egregious fees that they would charge us to just merely spend on a credit card, and they would take portions of the money that we were giving them and use it on things that were completely antithetical to our principles. And that's where coin comes in, right?
That's right. You got it. And it was the height of all the woke BS that was happening that we know is still happening. It's a little wolf in sheep's clothes right now.
100%.
They've hidden the DEI page on the website, but they would still target you if they could, and be leery, of the decisions coming out of those very boardrooms. So yes, COIN, COIGN.com, and it's the values aligned spending movement. It's America's conservative credit card. Although we are a financial services company, there are more products coming your way. But the idea is, instead of boycotting a company every time they do something woke, it's everyday activism without adding anything into your to-do list, which we can appreciate, especially as busy parents. So every dollar you spend on your coin card, we take a portion of those fees that you're talking about, put them into our charity bucket. Every quarter, we're about ready to have our vote next week, actually. We present our cardholders with 4 values-aligned charities, really awesome movements, always coming from our cardholders, always the recommendations. Some you've heard of. Some are very niche to great communities. And our customers get to vote. And then we divvy up the contents of the bucket, and we pass out these incredible charity checks every quarter.
This is what democracy looks like.
It is. But it's putting truly your money where your mouth is, aligning your values with your spending so you can feel like, okay, I'm making a difference for the country I want my kids to grow up in.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to do it. It's the same way I use any other credit card I've ever used in my life.
Okay, but now, when you first, I remember when you first started with Coin, because when we first started having you on, you were still working for Think Tank downtown, I think,
that's
and
right.
doing great work and all that stuff, and you've been all around the map, not all around the map, but we're going to get to the reason why you chose this company and why it was an important lifestyle choice for you to make as well. But if I remember right, they were like there was a waiting list. Like you had to sign up. They couldn't even issue you a card yet because there was such demand. How is that going now? What can people do if they want to be a part of this?
So we're back on a waiting list.
Really? See, this is a great, it's
a good problem
It's
to
a good
have,
problem, but it's also challenging. Yeah.
And yes, and we're working very soon to be able to make it so that we can allow everyone to apply. But that's exactly it. I think I was telling you a little earlier that we went out last fall, for 12 weeks we're going to advertise, and we had to turn off the advertisements after 5 weeks because we had fulfilled all of our inventory.
Yeah, that's great.
As you say. And so we still have a really robust waiting list. You can join it, COIGN.com. But again, it's part of this values-aligned spending movement that people are really getting into because, as I like to say, Larry, I worked in politics for 15 years, and we always were working towards Election Day, that day in November. And your vote is so important. It's the most important thing we can do as Americans. But there's other things you can do every single other day that are also working towards the country we want. And frankly, as conservatives, not looking for a government-centered solution to what ails us in our country, that also feels pretty great too.
So here's what I'm confused about, because you were in D.C., you were hustling, bustling, spokesperson for the RNC. Didn't you work in one of the White Houses as well, or
not directly?
Not okay. But in connection
hours.
with. Yes, exactly. You had to get the hours, all that stuff, working for things. Here's what I understand. You wanted to settle down. You wanted to start a family, have a baby. Why didn't you force your previous employers to change their rules to accommodate your motherhood? That's what I saw on the House floor with Republican women saying, I've got a baby, so therefore you must allow proxy voting. You must do all of these things to meet my demands. Why didn't you do that? Why did you then change your career and pick a job that allowed you to stay home? That's weird.
Well, I wasn't aware that I was under this prison sentence. That was,
Oh, you don't see your children as an anchor that limits
holding
you?
me back.
Yeah.
And you're right. So I worked on Capitol Hill for many years, as you know.
You worked for Duffy, didn't you?
For Sean Duffy.
Now you're
Yes.
Secretary of Transportation.
That's right. Our great secretary, our very busy Secretary of Transportation. But he, as you may be aware, has 9 kids. And
Yeah.
God bless his wife, Rachel. But I was there for the births of, I worked for him for the births of kids 7 and 8 and saw how his family managed paternity leave, quote unquote maternity leave. Rachel didn't take maternity leave back at home in Wisconsin. But how we worked with his schedule to say, okay, this is going to be heavy town hall time back in the district. And maybe he took a week or so.
He didn't
be
demand proxy
home.
voting.
But we arranged the schedule. And that's what we were talking about, is that as a member of Congress, you're the CEO of your office. You have really good flexibility to either say, all right, these district work days, we're going to arrange so that I can be home in the afternoon or start a little later in the morning. But also, there is a daycare. I know other members of Congress who utilize it. We all send our kids to daycare. You make a nice salary. I think they can afford to do that. And you can also say, and on Thursday mornings, I have to be here late for votes, so I'm going to bring my child in or whatever. There's flexibility there that I think wasn't getting its fair share of airtime.
Or maybe you can say, like you did, it's like, it's not my right to demand you acquiesce to what I want as a mother. The fact is, there's only 435 members of Congress, and it's a privilege to serve, and I'm now choosing instead to do something else with my career. You chose to do something else with your career, knowing that it would be a little hard to, accommodate your choice as a mother.
And by the way, millions of Americans have made those choices and never looked back. Greatest decision I ever made was being able to prioritize being at home every night for dinner and bedtime.
All right. Cassie's going to go take care of her children now who are plaguing us around this office here. I hope they're not touching anything.
Hopefully they're still asleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Good Thursday morning here. It's 5:36. Great to talk. No, wait. It's 5:37. There, I just wanted to be right up to speed perfectly with you. We were at seconds to go, and now you know. Don't have to look at your dashboard now. I've told you it's 5:37. Joining us later at 7:35, Kush Desai, White House Deputy Press Secretary, talk about the big tariff announcement yesterday. We're going to talk about it quite a bit on our own as well. 8:05, KT McFarland. And then at 8:35, the administrator of the SBA, that's Kelly Loeffler. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Cassie Smedley this morning. Good morning, Cassie.
Good morning, Larry.
So this is a great, if you don't mind me saying, this is a great example of how fake news can sort of affect our lives. Because you come in and you say, wow, so Musk is gone, right? That's what you...
I fell for it.
We start talking about the news of the day, as we always do during our pre-show meeting. He says, well, Musk is out at Doge. I was like, wait, what? Musk, because here's the headline. The headline from AP News, the Daily Mail was the most objectionable one. Mm-hmm. Where did the Daily Mail go? I just had it. Hang on. So the Daily Mail headline is...
Elon Musk dramatically steps down from Doge.
There you go. Elon Musk dramatically steps down from Doge. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
I fell for it. Like April Fools, I fell for it.
Did not happen. That's based on a Politico article, by the way. The Politico headline is not quite as outrageous, but pretty bad. Trump tells Inner Circle that Musk will leave soon. Okay. Interesting. Sounds like something's up over there, right? ABC News, this is how they reported it on the air. A spoiler alert, Elon Musk has not stepped down from Doge. And all of this private intrigue that Trump is telling the Inner Circle, none of that is true. Here, listen.
And we have breaking news right now.
Breaking.
Sources tell ABC News Elon Musk could be taking a step back from his role in the administration. Musk is classified as a special government.
Can I just say something, Cassie? Because often I have my own sources in this town, I am nothing if not a journalist.
Well connected.
I am an opinion-based broadcast journalist, which is, by the way, a real thing. Journalism doesn't mean that you pretend to be unbiased. Journalism, you can totally express your opinion and still adhere to journalistic standards. And I have my sources. I have sources in the White House, in fact.
Ooh.
And I have sources in Musk's. As close as Elon Musk as you can possibly get.
Oh?
Which I think sort of...
Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Exactly.
I get where you're going with this, Larry.
And according to my very well-placed sources, like in Elon Musk's bedroom is where my source is.
Can you narrow that one down, though, Larry?
That's true. That could be one of 15 people. I am now on the record. Put my name on it. Tweet it out. I don't care. I am willing to stake my reputation on it. Elon Musk is guaranteed to leave his role as head of the Department of Government Efficiency no later than May 30th.
All right.
There you go. So
Place your bets, folks.
And that fits with these headlines. Within weeks, right? They say within weeks. Trump said soon, right? Absolutely, I guarantee it, willing to put my reputation and the reputation of this radio station and, frankly, Cumulus Media writ large. Elon Musk will be stepping down from Doge by May 30th.
Which is give or take the 130-day mark that he said he would work to.
Oh, well, actually, even more than that, that the law dictates.
The law. Well, of course, unless you're the Biden admin.
We can get into that in a minute. But literally, he is employed in the White House. You know, most people, when our colleague Dan Bongino left the noon to 3 slot here on WMAL. He went to work as the deputy FBI director. Before he could do that, he had to divest himself from all of his private holdings. He could not own a company and still do that. He could not, you have to do that. You must do that if you're going to be a federal employee. Did Elon Musk divest from SpaceX and Tesla and X and all the other companies that he owns?
Thank God he didn't.
Thank God he didn't.
Those astronauts would still be up in space, but
he did not. So how do you work for a White House, Cassie, and still maintain private ownership of a corporation and all the shares that he owns in all of his companies? How do you do that?
It's the consultant status, right?
Yeah, it's something like that. I think the actual word is temporary special employee or something, but it's got an end date. You cannot work for an administration more than 130 days under that status without having to divest and, depending on the job, getting Senate confirmation or what have you. Day one was January 20th. Count 130 days. That gets you to May 30th. Period. End of discussion.
But it's not as much fun, Larry.
Yeah.
First of all, I will say this is why we tune in to Larry O'Connor. Because it truly was, I said it and I knew as soon as you were like, what? That I'd been taken for a ride by this headline. And then you, of course, set the record straight. And
you're not the only one. Trump tells Inner Circle that Musk will leave soon. Yeah, by May 30th. Trump privately indicates Musk to step back from administration after government employee status expires. Of course he will, because his government employee status will have expired. Musk could be headed for a Washington exit after turbulent times at Trump's Doge, says AP News. All right, so I said that my source is at the highest level literally in Elon Musk's bedroom, right? Well, I'm going to reveal my source now.
I was about to say,
I know, and
big
again,
news.
It's sort of against journalistic standards as well, but I'm going to go ahead and reveal my source because I continue to maintain the same thing that I've been saying over and over again here is that most of the people who are in the business of doing the news in Washington, D.C. don't actually pay attention to the news. Now, if you paid attention to the news, you would have seen Elon Musk's interview with Brett Baer, 7 days ago?
Right, a week ago.
And the very first question of the interview.
You technically are a special government employee, and you're supposed to be 130 days. Are you going to continue past that, or do you think that's what you're going to do? Or?
Well, I think we will have accomplished most of the work required to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion within that time frame.
So in that time frame, 130 days.
So that's Elon Musk literally saying last week on the record on television on a very highly rated news program that he anticipates that his work will be done. And yes, he'll be leaving within the 130-day window. AP headline, Musk could be headed for a Washington exit. No. He literally said it.
He said it. This is no scoop. This is not newsy. I think it's just because people in Washington aren't used to people being so efficient with their time. There's no way he gets this done in the allotted time, right? But here he is saying he'll do it.
Daily Mail. Elon Musk dramatically steps down from Doge in shock move after Trump expressed private doubts. Daily Mail. It's 5:44.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
There is literally no station in D.C. anymore that has this on the playlist. You got to stay on WMAL, not just for news, information, and analysis, but also for damn good, deep cut, late 80s, early 90s music. 1990, you researched.
August 1990.
There you go.
A good year.
D-Light.
I think.
A good year. Was that the year you were born?
No.
I was going to get really upset.
No.
All right, so you remember when Andrew Breitbart hijacked Anthony Weiner's press conference during the whole, the very first Weinergate scandal and everything? Great moment. Linda McMahon of World Wrestling Entertainment fame sort of did a Breitbart yesterday. Here's what happened. A bunch of Democrats went up and had a meeting with the Secretary of Education. You know, we've got to save the Department of Education. You can't do this, Department of Education. Then they had this whole planned, scripted press conference standing at a podium in front of the Department of Education where they were railing against Trump and Doge and everything. What they didn't expect was that the secretary came down the elevator with them and stood right next to them watching the whole thing. So they couldn't lie about what happened in the meeting. And then something very good happened. The congresswoman who was, sort of sitting there and conducting the whole thing said, and as you can see, Secretary McMahon is right here, and I guess I should let her say something. And, well, she did, Cassie, and let's hear what Linda McMahon had to say at the Democrats' press conference.
Along a corporate model without a plan and without an effort to really protect our students. So we want to be clear about that. I want to say one other thing. The mood in the room, it was very collegial. We are extraordinarily grateful to the secretary that she joined us. Thank you. She's here. Perhaps I should give her the podium.
Big mistake.
We're extraordinarily grateful that the secretary gave us the space to have these conversations, but with all due respect, madam.
She gave us the space. What is this like the cafeteria at an Ivy League college?
I was about to say Harvard Yard or something.
Yes. Oh, we need our space to have the conversation. And all right, so she says, with all due respect, Madam Secretary.
I think my biggest concern is that the states will not be able to protect the programs and services that you would like to devolve with them.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. And I just want to express my gratitude to all of these folks who came today so that we could have an open discussion about what I believe is one of the most important things that we can have a discussion on or action on in our country, and that is the education of our young people. As Representative Tanaka said as we were ending the meeting, which I thought was incredibly appropriate, and that is that this is not a partisan issue. This is about the children of America. And it's the next generation, the generation after that. And if we want to have our leaders, if we want to have that next group of engineers and doctors and lawyers and plumbers and electricians and HVAC operators, then we need to focus on how they can best have their education. And I believe, and I know the president does believe this as well, the best education is that is closest to the child, where teachers and parents, local superintendents, working together and local school boards to develop the curriculum for those students is the best way that it can happen.
That is a beautiful thing. Was that not
Amazing.
great?
It was a WWE SmackDown move. She comes out with the aluminum chair,
Right.
takes over the press conference.
Right. Off the turnbuckle.
Yes. And the most amazing part is right out. So she says these very collegial words.
Yes.
Right? And that's the soundbite that everybody's playing anyway. Much better message. And I love it, by the way, that she's like, no, we're not going to let them go out in front of this building and take the airtime here. Let's go join them. But then that Congressman Tanaka that she called him,
Yeah.
as soon as she walks away, he tries to get a question out of her. And she's like, nope, see ya. That's all we're saying today. And as soon as she walks away, he starts clowning on her.
Yeah.
And it's like, too late, buddy. Your press conference has already been co-opted. You have
That's
been
right.
pinned down.
And that's the moment that got ran on most media outlets,
That's
or
right.
certainly went viral on social media. And it's, everyone says, what happens if the entire Republican Party ends up made in Trump's image? Well, I mean, if that's an example of it, I'm okay with that. That's a good thing.
That's right.
And I'm Andrew Breitbart, by the way. We reported this at Big Government and Big Journalism.
That's right. It was just like that, wasn't it?
So good.
Oh, are you talking about education? I'm the Secretary of Education. Let me say something. Good job, Secretary McMahon. It's 5:53.